You didn't wake up one morning and suddenly decide to become a family caregiver. It didn't happen all at once. For most adult children, the transition into elder care is a slow, creeping erosion of normalcy. Everything starts out great, but then it begins with a subtle, easily dismissed change. You notice an uncharacteristic dent on the bumper of your father's car. You find an unpaid stack of utility bills sitting on your mother's kitchen counter. Or perhaps you notice that when you ask how things are going, they look away and repeat the phrase, "I'm fine," just a little too quickly, changing the subject before you can dig deeper. Out of deep love and respect and a protective instinct, our first response is to rationalize these moments. We tell ourselves that mom is just tired, or that dad had a temporary lapse in focus. We normalize dangerous behaviors because the alternative, admitting that our fiercely independent parents are actively losing their grip on self-sufficiency, is terrifying. But by normalizing these early warnings, we inadvertently walk ourselves straight into a trap. We remain completely blind to the slow accumulation of a risk until a catastrophic emergency occurs. A devastating middle-of-the-night fall, a severe medical crisis, or a major financial scam forces our hand. Suddenly, we are dropped into the deep end of reactive crisis management, scrambling to make life-altering decisions while completely blinded by panic, exhaustion, and guilt. Reviewing senior warning signs isn't about stripping away your parents' dignity, taking away their independence prematurely, or forcing an aggressive confrontation. It is about equipping you with clear eyes and objective data. I'm Suzanne Fasella. I'm a retired physician assistant and senior care strategist. And for over 2 decades, I've watched families destroy their health and their marriages because they didn't know how to read the signs of decline. This definitive guide breaks down the physical, environmental, cognitive, and behavioral red flags of elder decline. By learning to identify these signs early, you can step out of the exhausting cycle of constant firefighting and start building a proactive, sustainable plan that keeps your loved one safe while fiercely protecting your own sanity. You know, the human body rarely keeps secrets when it begins to struggle with the baseline tasks of daily living. However, because older adults are deeply aware of their diminishing capacities, they often become masters of disguise. They may change their clothes right before you visit, use heavy perfumes to mask a lack of bathing, or limit their movements while you are in the room to hide an unsteady gait. To see the true picture, you must look past the superficial presentation and evaluate clear physiological markers of physical decline. The first major red flag is unexplained fatigue and shifting sleep architecture. Many family caregivers notice that their aging loved one begins sleeping for hours during the day or seem constantly exhausted. While it is true that sleep patterns change naturally as human beings age, a sudden or extreme pivot toward profound exhaustion is an alarm bell. When a senior begins sleeping through commitments, nodding off mid-conversation, or spending the vast majority of their daylight hours confined to a bed or recliner, it is rarely just old age. It is a physical symptom of an underlying systemic issue. Excessive daytime fatigue is frequently driven by chronic, unmanaged pain, cardiovascular insufficiency or heart problems, or hidden metabolic imbalances. It can also point directly to cognitive fatigue. As neural pathways deteriorate, executing basic daily mental tasks requires immense physical energy leaving the senior completely drained by noon. If your parent is experiencing this type of systemic lethargy, watch our deep dive breakdown video on senior fatigue, when excess sleeping signals a medical change. And this will show you exactly what clinical parameters you need to check immediately. The second physical red flag is the hidden crisis of self-neglect, hydration, and nutrition. Nutritional decline and chronic dehydration are silent emergencies that frequently slip beneath a caregiver's radar until a trip to the emergency room becomes unavoidable. As the body ages, the natural biological thirst mechanism dulls. Seniors often do not register that they are dangerously dehydrated until their cellular health is already compromised. Furthermore, if a senior is experiencing early mobility limitations or fear of incontinence, they may intentionally restrict their fluid intake to avoid painful, frequent trips to the bathroom. This self-restriction is highly hazardous. Dehydration in older adults rapidly triggers acute kidney injuries, severe electrolyte imbalances, and profound drop-offs in blood pressure that directly cause the fainting and the spells. Similarly, physical or cognitive barriers, such as arthritis, making it painful to open jars, or executive dysfunction, making the multi-step process of cooking a meal too overwhelming. And this leads seniors to quietly abandon proper nutrition. They default to tea and toast. They skip meals entirely, might eat a cracker or cookie, or consume expired, spoiled food, simply because it requires no effort to prepare. To help you protect their physical health during the warmest months, check out our essential guide video, Dehydration in Aging Parents, Essential Summer Safety Tips, which breaks down how to identify these fluid deficiencies before they become life-threatening. When a senior physically or cognitively have their abilities diminished, their immediate living environment changes from a place of comfort into an objective record of their struggles. You do not need to wait for your parent to confess that they are overwhelmed. If you know how to read the physical space of their home, the house itself will tell you exactly what tasks of independent living are failing behind closed doors. The architectural audit of a parent's home often provides the most accurate, unfiltered look at their daily operational health. When you visit, look past the pleasantries and evaluate the physical upkeep of the space. First, check the kitchen. Look inside the refrigerator and pantry. Are there multiple containers of identical items because they forgot what they already owned? Is there the food moldy, expired, and completely absent? Are there visible scorch marks on pots and pans or the surrounding countertops that suggest a burner was left on unattended? Second, look at the mail pile. Look at the accumulation of paperwork. Do they have it spread out all over? A complete failure to sort incoming mail, piles of unopened envelopes containing urgent utility notices, or a duplicate charitable donations indicate a total breakdown in the complex executive functioning that's required to manage financial affairs. Third, look at climate control. Pay close attention to the ambient temperature of the home. Seniors with compromised circulatory systems or early cognitive decline will often lose the ability to accurately regulate their environment. Discovering a house that is dangerously hot in July or freezing in January because a senior cannot operate the thermostat is a critical environmental emergency that requires immediate intervention. The final piece of the environmental puzzle is the true anatomy of senior fall triggers. Mobility changes are rarely sudden They are incremental. A senior will begin furniture walking, touching the walls, the chairs, and the countertops as they cross a room because their balance is quietly failing. They will avoid ascending stairs or struggle significantly to stand up from a low toilet seat or a deep sofa. When these mobility shifts meet an unoptimized home environment, a catastrophic fall becomes a matter of not when, but if. No, I take it back. A matter of if, not when. Falls are the leading cause of injury-related hospitalizations for older adults, and they frequently mark the absolute end of independent living. Most home layouts are littered with silent fall triggers that independent seniors effortlessly navigate, but failing seniors cannot. Loose throw rugs, cluttered pathways, inadequate night lighting in hallways, lack of secure bathroom grab bars, and trailing extension cords are immediate hazards. If you're worried about your parents' physical stability, go watch our training video, Preventing Falls in Aging Parents, for proven home safety strategies to discover how to identify and remove these hidden home dangers. While physical and environmental decline can often be managed with structural modifications, cognitive decline requires a completely different level of caregiver awareness. The brain is the control center for safety. When neural pathways begin to degrade due to progressive conditions like Alzheimer's disease or vascular dementia, a senior's capacity to perceive danger drops to zero. Differentiating between benign, age-related forgetfulness and the early signs of progressive memory loss is your primary line of defense. Let's address the clear distinction between age-related forgetfulness and progressive decline. It is entirely normal for an aging adult to occasionally misplace their eyeglasses, forget the name of an acquaintance, or walk into a room and momentarily forget why they entered. We've all done that. The critical difference lies in the brain's ability to retrace its steps or use contextual clues to solve the problem. An aging adult with a heavy brain knows they lost their keys and will actively search for them. A senior experiencing progressive cognitive decline will place their keys inside the freezer, completely forget that the keys belong to them, and fail to understand why an object is missing in the first place. Early cognitive red flags frequently manifest as repeating the exact same question or story within a 5-minute window. A total loss of track of dates, seasons, and the passage of time, or getting severely disoriented in highly familiar environments like their lifelong grocery store or neighborhood. When a senior begins to struggle with basic words, calls everyday objects by the wrong names, and shows a sudden inability to show a simple, familiar recipe to you and follow it, the brain is signaling a structural change. To help you separate normal aging from cognitive disease, make sure you watch our fundamental guide video, Memory Loss in Aging Parents, 10 Things Families Need to Know. The second component of this cognitive decline is the psychology of denial and defensive aggression. One of the most emotionally devastating hurdles for a family caregiver is encountering absolute denial from a parent who is clearly struggling. Adult children expect their parents to be rational. They expect that if they point out a memory mistake, the parent will agree that it is time to seek medical help. The exact opposite usually happens. When confronted with memory slips, a parent will often lash out with intense anger, deflection, and defensive accusations, like, "You're mumbling, I can't hear you." This behavior is a psychological defense mechanism. Your parent is terrified. They can feel their grip on reality slipping, and their immediate instinct is to mask their vulnerability to protect their independence. Instead of admitting they forgot a conversation, their broken cognitive framework convinces them that you never told them, that you are lying, or that you are intentionally trying to make them look crazy. Arguing over a parent's memory slips or trying to force them to admit they are wrong will not fix a changing brain. If you are locked into this exhausting cycle of kitchen table arguments, go watch our specialized video, Early Signs of Memory Loss, How to Handle Parent Denial. And this will teach you how to communicate without triggering their defenses. As cognitive health declines, the brain loses its executive function, the complex command center responsible for planning, focusing attention, remembering instructions, and balancing multiple real-world tasks successfully. Executive dysfunction is exceptionally dangerous because a senior can look completely healthy, speak beautifully, and pass a brief, casual conversation with flying colors, while completely losing the ability to safely navigate complex, unstructured situations. The first way this manifests is through the breakdown of safety in disruptive environments. A classic sign of this lost executive function is the inability to handle an abrupt change in routine or environment. In a quiet, highly predictable home setting, a senior can mask their decline through sheer muscle memory and habit. But when that senior is removed from their routine, such as coordinating long-distance travel, navigating a bustling airport, or adjusting to a noisy family gathering, their brain becomes completely overwhelmed. Without executive control, the senior cannot process the incoming sensory data. This manifests as sudden panic attacks, extreme irritability, physical freezing, or a total inability to execute any basic safety checks. Assessing how a parent handles a complex, changing environment is an accurate litmus test for whether they can truly manage an independent life when an unexpected crisis occurs at home. Before you arrange your next major family trip, use our risk assessment video, Senior Travel Safety, assessing if your parent can handle long trips, to determine if their brain is ready for the stress that they will have. The second major manifestation of executive loss is the pattern of continuous poor judgment. When a parent's executive function erodes, they lose the neurological capacity to link current actions to future consequences, leading to an alarming pattern of bad decisions. They become highly susceptible to predatory financial scams, willingly handing over thousands of dollars to strangers on the phone. They might purchase massive amounts of unnecessary items from the television, those info commercials, ignore critical dashboards, warning lights on their car, or refuse to take life-saving prescription medications because they feel fine. Family caregivers often waste months treating these bad decisions as isolated behavioral problems. They try to argue, lecture, and reason with the senior, hoping that a logical explanation will change their mind. This approach fails because a damaged brain cannot process logic. Reacting to these bad choices one by one ensures you remain completely trapped in an exhausting state of constant crisis management. To discover how to step out of this loop, watch our guide video, What to Do When Your Aging Parent Makes One Bad Choice After Another. If you are the primary child who lives closest to your aging parent, or the one who manages their daily affairs, you will almost certainly see these physical and cognitive warning signs long before anyone else does. This creates a deeply isolating dynamic where your growing internal panic is met with complete skepticism from long-term or long-distance siblings or extended family members. This massive disconnect happens because of a phenomenon known as the illusion of show timing and the visitor effect. Seniors experiencing early to mid-stage cognitive decline still possess the ability to pull together all their remaining mental reserves for a brief period. When a long-distance sibling visits for a weekend or a holiday or calls on the telephone once a week, the senior can perform beautifully. They smile, they dress well, repeat familiar anecdotes, and appear completely self-sufficient. But the moment the visitor leaves, the senior collapses from the immense exhaustion of performance, sliding back into self-neglect and confusion. As the primary caregiver who witnesses the unvarnished reality on a random Tuesday morning, you're left holding a terrifying truth that the rest of the family denies. Trusting your intuition is the first critical step to stopping a caregiving crisis before it starts, even if your family isn't ready to see it. If you are struggling with this family skepticism, watch our video, Why One Caregiver Often Sees the Warning Signs of Decline First, to discover how to handle this isolating pressure. Furthermore, we must address unmasking the I'm fine defensive strategy. The phrase I'm fine is the most dangerous sentence in senior care. It is an automatic survival reflex used by seniors to protect their independence at all costs. Accepting this reassurance at face value allows critical safety, financial and health crises to escalate behind the closed doors until a catastrophic emergency will force your hand. Cracking the code of senior masking requires you to stop relying on their verbal reassurances and look purely at real-world safety metrics. To learn how to read between the lines, watch our training video, Your Senior Says I'm Fine, Why Accepting It Quickly is Dangerous. Cataloging these senior red flags is not designed to trigger a state of panic or force an immediate aggressive confrontation with your parent. It is meant to provide you with the gift of object clarity. If your senior, your aging loved one, is actively displaying these physical, environmental, and cognitive shifts, the worst thing you can do is continue to close your eyes and hope that tomorrow will be better. Continuing to run from emergency to emergency, patching up isolated symptoms while ignoring the global decline is an unsustainable path that will destroy your health, your family, your work, your career, and even your personal life, as well as your health. You cannot fix this reality by trying harder, working longer hours, or caring more. True caregiving leadership means stepping out of the diagnostic research loop, dropping the defensive arguments with your parent, and learning how to structurally protect both their safety and your sanity. You cannot hold your parents' physical safety together through sheer willpower and chronic hypervigilance. Love is a beautiful motivator, but love alone cannot build safety guardrails, rewrite family dynamics, or stop neurological decline. You do not need a collection of random quick tips. You need a comprehensive written care strategy. Right now, head down into the description box below. Click the link to join our caregiver community and immediately download the 90-point senior care diagnostic checklist. Use this tool to translate your gut instincts into unvarnished, objective data, spot the hidden risks, and stop the exhausting crisis loop before it takes over your entire life. But remember, realizing your parent is failing this audit is only the first step. Your next hurdle isn't fixing their house. It is fixing your own approach. You need to learn why trying to control everything alone is suffocating your identity, is taking your life. Click on the video right here on your screen to watch our strategic breakdown on how to move from survival mode into a sustainable plan, and let's lift this suffocating blanket together. I will put the link in the description for you as well. Take care. We'll talk soon.